Hello, Endpoint Pulse community. It's lovely meeting you all again on another episode of successful implementation stories from around the globe. On this episode, Siuli Kingsley again as your host, and I have a truly remarkable individual from South Africa. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi there, everybody. My name is Alan de Waal-Smit. I am the head of sales at ITR Technology, and ITR Technology is the sole distributor within South Africa for Manage Engine.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a relationship with Manage Engine for 22 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're well established in the market,
mm-hmm.
and well established within Manage Engine, and we've had a great partnership up until now.
Mm-hmm. So could you give us a little bit of a sneak peek into what you do with your job? I know you're the head of sales, so what does a day in the life of a head of sales manager look like?
Well, the day in the life of a head of sales at ITR Technology is, it's interesting. Let's put it that way, because you don't know what your day holds. You've got the responsibility of 3 different teams.
Mm-hmm.
So as head of sales, I'll look after both the direct sales team, which is our regional account managers.
Mm-hmm.
I also have the responsibility looking after our channel managers.
Okay.
So we have our reseller market and our partners. And then I also look after our retentions team, which is our renewals and our recurring revenue as well. So when we manage those 3 teams, it's a team of 14.
Mm-hmm.
So we look after, we split up into different regions within South Africa with regional account managers. So it's looking at a customer base across South Africa, not just looking at, one area, one customer. It's now spreading the wings and looking after all those customers, their issues, and what they face on a daily basis.
Cool. I think your job sounds really cool, managing a lot of people as well as customers. So I think you would come across a lot of challenges and struggles of customers who come to you for a solution for those challenges, right? So could you share a story of something that comes to the top of your head when you think about this specific customer? You don't have to mention their name if you don't want to. So could you just share a story from your experience?
And if I think across the base, I think this day and age we are experiencing a lot of customers not just coming to us for products, but they're looking for us for solutions.
Yeah.
They've got a business problem and they're looking for a specific outcome, and we're there to provide them that outcome through the management tools that we have in IT. So I think when we look at Manage Engine, there's a variety of problems customers come to us with. I think if, off the top of my head, customers are looking for ticketing systems, but they're looking for the next ticketing system. So they're looking for enterprise service management. They're looking for taking the foundations that we've had in IT across the organization in service management. I think the second, thing we look at, and that falls within the unified endpoint management space, is how do we manage our devices, not just laptops, but desktops, laptops, servers, mobile devices, IoT devices in a single framework. And if you look at it today, customers are using 2, 3, 4, 5 tool sets to accompany and to accomplish exactly what Endpoint Central gives them. So I think that area is highlighted since COVID. I think COVID highlighted the whole remote workforce initiative.
Yes, completely.
Pre-COVID, companies said, you can't work from home. We don't know what you're doing at home. Whereas now there's this very much a hybrid working model.
Very true. Yes.
And how do they manage those devices in a hybrid working model? I think the third sort of area that is often is identity, access management, and security. For probably the last 5 years globally, cybersecurity has been on the top of every CIO's list.
Yes.
Have we addressed that? In my view, no. Because why would it still be on the top of every CIO if we have addressed the issue?
Yeah.
And I think, cybersecurity has had different elements to it. We first of all looked at the perimeter. And so we did network access. We started looking at network security. Then we started to come in and we started to look at it from a threat protection point of view.
Yeah.
And now what we're seeing is the biggest threat to an organization is the endpoints they carry.
Yes.
And the people that carry those endpoints.
Yeah.
How do we secure that? And I think that's the next phase that we're moving into. So those are the common sort of issues that I'm, when I'm speaking to customers. And I think the last, and final issue that when I'm speaking to customers is in IT, they say we've got 60, 70, 80 tools that we use.
Yeah.
Now, Manage Engine themselves have 104 products.
Yes.
So when I'm going to customers, I rather want us to look at going with less that does more.
Yeah.
And try and reduce the complexity that we have with all these tool sets in IT.
Yes. So, like you said, I think cybersecurity space has evolved, and I'm pretty sure you would have come across several security incidents and customers who are suffering with those security incidents. So, could you give us a story of how you were able to tackle those challenges using the products available in Manage Engine?
I think often we get customers that have either been hacked, number one. I think the other thing that often happens is customers' data has been stolen.
Yeah.
And they're placed under ransomware.
Yeah.
And we get those two of the predominant ones that I see, with customers. And often it doesn't happen from within the data center.
Yeah.
And I think we've often protected our data centers, but it's happened through either devices that have not been protected properly or individuals who have not been trained properly.
Yeah.
And I use those two in conjunction.
Yeah.
Because it's great having all the tools, but if we don't actually make our employees aware of the security risks, we still face the same issues.
Yeah. So definitely, I think user awareness is very much important, as much as protecting our endpoints, from cyber attacks. So do you have any sort of advice for system administrators, on the basis of user awareness around cybersecurity do's and don'ts?
Well, I think there's one do, and that is get Endpoint Central with Security Edition. And I'm just not saying that because, I'm from Manage Engine and I'm from ITR, but I'm saying that because it gives you a central tool set to manage and secure the endpoint. We've often have separated the management of endpoints to the security of endpoints.
Yeah.
And we often see that our security vendors have had the knowledge on endpoints. But our security vendors have often had the knowledge on the security threats, not necessarily how to deal with that in the endpoint.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm attacking any of our security vendors, because we need them as much as they need us.
Yes.
But it's when you bring these two together that I feel that you've got one point at which you manage the endpoint, you secure the endpoint.
Yeah.
Should that security breach be reached, you can then react in the same tool to protecting and highlighting that.
True.
And I think that's, for me, the benefit of having, Endpoint Central done. When we look at the Endpoint Central Security Edition, you look at the different modules.
Yeah.
You look at things like BitLocker. You look at things like DLP, Next Gen Antivirus. You look at device control.
Yeah.
all of those are infrastructure-based security tools aimed at securing the endpoint.
Yes. So my next question would be, what value do you think the Endpoint Central Security Edition adds to, your customers?
I think in answering that question, I think let's look at the value what Endpoint Central brings first. And I think Endpoint Central brings a comprehensive management solution to the endpoint. Previously we had SCCM and Intune predominantly in the market managing the endpoints, but that was just then for Microsoft. Yes. And I think the whole aspect of third-party applications, third-party patching, third-party vulnerabilities was left out of the question. So I think when we brought Endpoint Central into the picture, this started to address that there was one tool to manage the endpoint, right the way from configuration through to software deployment, through to the patch and vulnerability management. And then we started to add the mobile device. And we've seen the increase of the use of the mobile device with regards to company data. And I think that then started to raise the question around, if we look at the data that is sitting on our endpoints, whether it be our laptops or our mobile phones, from a company perspective, how secure is that data?
Yes.
And so I think that then naturally progressed into us looking at what is the security of the endpoint that's needed to protect, the device, and then the data more specifically that's sitting on that device. So we brought in things like, the device control so that we couldn't copy, data off the device, and blocking USBs, for example. We then also brought in app control to elevate the applications that needed admin privileges so that we didn't have to give everybody admin privileges. So we started then to look at these add-ons that started then to progress further. And we brought out things like BitLocker management to look at the encryption. We then brought out our endpoint DLP. And that started to look at the data loss side of things. And when we brought this all together, we realized we've got a security edition. And rather than just having it as a bundle, we've been given the customers the choice. And I think that is so often necessary. We don't just want to come out with this one tool that is the Rolls Royce and everybody must drive a Rolls Royce. We all have preference and we've all got different requirements for our cars. Some of us want to, travel families around. Some of us want to have camper vans. Some of us want to drive Rolls Royces. And some of us just want the basic model. And I think we giving that choice back to the customer as to what he needs. What is his requirements? And I think, then once we get that from the customer and understanding the requirement, we can then match exactly the value that Endpoint Central brings with the security edition to meet the customer's requirements. So it's brought a different dimension to managing the endpoint. So as I say again, I often say to my customers, I say it to my sales team, Endpoint Central is not just about management. It's about security. And once we get those two together, the customer has peace of mind.
Very true. So amazing example with the cars. Each person's requirement would be different. And also, I think after the pandemic, even though the pandemic era is long gone, we're still seeing hybrid work and remote work models still going around. So what advice would you have for a system administrator or an IT admin, managing that hybrid workforce model?
I think when COVID came, there was this mad rush for everybody just to be able to manage endpoints down at home. When the pandemic ended, I think there was this thought that everybody would just return to the office. But what had happened in that time is that companies had realized that they could work in a hybrid model.
Yes.
So a lot of companies are either bringing back staff 2 or 3 days a week, or they're giving the staff the option to either work from home remotely, or there is companies where they're back at the office full time. So you still got this hybrid model, and instead of using things like VPN connections, where you have to have direct access into your network, and then only could I see the network. How often would somebody connect to a VPN connection when they're at home?
Yeah.
They didn't need to use a VPN connection for mail. So if they were just doing mail, how often was that device being updated? So I often use the example whether I'm sitting at a coffee shop, whether I'm at a conference in India, at Partner Meet, or whether I'm sitting in the office, or whether I'm at a client site. If there is a bug fix that needs to happen, I can get it through Endpoint Central.
Yes.
And that is through things like the secure gateway. It is things through the distributed network that we can utilize, that we can then keep these devices updated, patched, and secure, no matter where we sit.
Yes.
And I think that is a phenomenal benefit, because it's not only just for the OS. I think it's for all applications, all aspects that sit on that device. I think the other key benefit is that we don't only just do Microsoft. We do Microsoft, we do Mac, and we do Linux. When we look at the mobile device side, the new OSs such as Harmony, we consider that as well. We look at iOS, we look at Android. So we're covering a wide variety underneath Endpoint Central, eliminating again the need for multiple tools.
Very true, very true. Well, very well said, actually. I think this would have been very useful for IT admins who are, watching and listening to our podcast. I think my very next question would be, how do you think we stand with the rest of the competition today in the UEM space?
I think we've seen this in our analyst reports. We've moved up in the last 2 years. Let's use this opportunity to also brag a little bit. I think we've moved up into the leader quadrant, which is, we've always been either in the niche or we've been in the challenging quadrants. We're now in the leader quadrants. And I think that is due to the fact that we have gone from just being a management tool set to being a management tool set of mobile devices and endpoints. And then I think the third aspect that's moved us into the leader quadrant is that we are now looking at security, which has been a major concern over many years. We now have then moved into the leadership quadrant. So again, I think we are very well positioned. I think there is still a lot of room for growth. We do have strong competitors out there. And it's about showing the customer where we meet his requirements. And if his requirements are met with the competitor like SCCM, let's then go and find the customers where that is not met. And rather look at it from that perspective.
Very well said. Again, I think, we still have room to grow, and we've got a long way to go. So what are your thoughts on the buzz around AI? That's been like trending so far after the pandemic. And, how do you think this will impact, or do you think this will impact the endpoint management and security market in the upcoming years?
I think AI has been, it's a buzzword that's been there for 2-3 years now. The biggest tech trends in 2024 show that Gen AI is going to be the leader on the tech trends in 2024. And it's not just going to be in IT, but it's going to be across the business landscape.
Yes.
We've got to understand what does that mean for the endpoint.
Yes.
Okay. And we've got to understand where can AI play a role within the endpoint. And one of the new features coming, within Endpoint Central is the endpoint analytics.
Yeah.
Okay. And for me, that is where we are starting to bring in the AI thought leadership into endpoint management and endpoint security. So we're going to then start looking at doing the predictive analytics, being able then to send alerts, notifications to our admins of potential vulnerabilities, potential security risks within our endpoints that could be resolved before they become an issue. And I think that's where AI is going to play a huge role. So do I think AI has got a place within endpoint management and security? Absolutely. Do I think we're there yet? No. Do I think we're on the right path? Yes, we are. So I think the introduction of Endpoint Central analytics and endpoint analytics into Endpoint Central is going to give us that AI capability and bring AI to the forefront within endpoint management and security.
Very well said. Again, I just have a follow-up question with AI, because when we speak about AI, we're also worried about the risks that come with AI, the security risks that come with AI. So what are your thoughts on that? How do you, see that side of things?
I think, again, we're sitting in this this unknown era. We've been talking about AI. There's been huge advancements in AI, but I still think that we are feeling our way through with AI. So when we look at the security of AI and the security threats that is there potentially that could come down with AI, we need to ensure that our security portfolio, whether it is in our other managed engine suites such as Event Log Analyzer, Log 360, where we look at it from our access control through PAN 360, or whether we look at it through our identity and access management tool sets, or if we look at it through endpoint security, we need to understand what those threats could be. And we then need to build that into our model. And it is always great, saying, yes, they're going to bring threats, but we need to almost be one step ahead. Understanding what those threats are and then shutting them down before they come into our AI models that we're going to bring into our tool sets.
Thank you for that explanation. I think we've covered almost all of the topics, but I still have one more question left for you. What does Endpoint Central mean to you? Maybe if you could put it in 3 words, or let's say I'm a customer who's looking to invest into a UEM solution. Why would you, suggest Endpoint Central to them? Or, exactly, what it means to you?
As a salesperson, I've always I've been in the industry for 30 odd years. My mother always says to me, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. But I've always had the viewpoint that I need to believe in something to sell it.
Yes, very true.
When I joined ITR and started dealing with Managed Engine, one of the first products that I came across was Endpoint Central. So it has been, it's got a sort of a soft spot for me. And I truly believe that Endpoint Central resolves customer issues, number one. I think number 2, it reduces complexity within clients. And I've often said that, IT has always been the culprits when it comes to an issue, we buy a tool set to fix an issue. And every time there's an issue, we buy a new tool set.
Yeah.
So we've ended up with this multitude of tool sets. And what I have often seen, you know, in our industry, in our market, is that if we could reduce that complexity, if we could reduce the number of tool sets, we could reduce customers' issues and reduce their complexity. The other phenomenal aspect of Endpoint Central is its integration.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, integration into analytics, integration into Service Desk Plus, so that you can, from within Service Desk, patch a device. From within Service Desk, I can remote control into a device. You know, and I think we've often left the remote control functionality out of Endpoint Central. It is one of the biggest features that we have. And if we have that integration with Service Desk, I think we've got a tight integration into things like our change management database. We're then able to have a view of all our software, all our hardware, all our components that are attached to our endpoints, our integration into Active Directory. And once we've got all those integrations, we've now got a truly comprehensive IT management solution.
Yes, very true. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
No, thank you for having me, and to all the IT admins and IT managers out there, good luck. And if you'd like to sleep well at night, if you'd like to have some quality family time, which we all love, what I'd suggest is contact Manage Engine, and let's reduce the stress for you.
Thank you. Thank you for that message. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Until we meet again on another interesting story, this is Yuli Kingsley signing off.